4 days from now, there's going to be a federal grand jury which is going to meet in Raleigh for what really does amount to a criminal investigation. This is a serious matter. The investigation centers on close ties between people at Duke Energy and people within Pat McCrory's administration. These people specifically are the people who watchdog Duke Energy, who are regulating our water quality and are supposed to safeguard our water quality in our rivers, lakes, and streams. So in the spirit of this grand jury hearing happening on Tuesday, we want to provide some evidence of our own, which we think should be enough for Governor McCrory to come clean on his ties to Duke Energy. The first one we have, Exhibit A, is what we think a pretty clear illustration of the campaign contributions over the course of two governor's campaigns in 08 and 012. You add up the employees, the former employees, the spouses, the utility companies, the political action committee, and contributions to the Republican Governors Association. It's $1.1 million. That's a lot of money. It has influence. Exhibit B, we think is probably one of the most interesting ones. This basically is the statement of economic interest, the SEI. Now, this is filed at the Ethics Commission in Raleigh. And basically what it says is that Governor McCrory owns at least $10,000 in Duke Energy stock. We don't know how much Duke Energy stock he owns. It could be 10,000. It could be 20,000. It could be 100,000. Honestly, we don't know. Governor McCrory won't say. He won't disclose, and he should. Governor McCrory should come clean. Exhibit C here shows, the magnitude of connections inside Governor McCrory's administration of people who once worked at Duke Energy. From the bottom, you've got the Commerce Secretary, spent 17 years at Duke Energy. You've got the person who runs basically HR for the state, who spent 40 years at Duke Energy. The head communications person for the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, who's communicating with all of you journalists. He once worked at Progress Energy, which is now owned by Duke Energy. The person who is the ombudsman for the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the person who's supposed to be the ethical compass for the regulatory agency, he was a lobbyist at Duke Energy. He spent 38 years at Duke Energy. And of course, the governor at the top, as most people know, he spent close to 3 decades at Duke Energy. Finally, Exhibit D, and what we think probably has triggered the U.S. Attorney's investigation. This is the copy of the front page of what was called the Notice of Intent to Sue from the Southern Environmental Law Center and a number of other plaintiffs who were conservation groups and citizen groups. Basically, they were notifying the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the federal government that they intended to sue Duke Energy for alleged violations of the Clean Water Act. Now, the DENR, under federal law, had 60 days to basically what they say is intervene, basically take control of the lawsuit. Now, we noticed that someone from DENR yesterday told one of your TV stations that DENR, under this administration, is the first one to actually sue Duke Energy to enforce the Clean Water Act. They only did so because these groups filed a notice of intent to do so. And when they did take control of the lawsuit, they ended up with a proposed settlement, which included a fine of $99,000.
They've been paying fines for 40 years.
On a company which is valued at $50 billion. A $99,000 fine on a company which made $2.7 billion in profits last year. Imagine if this was a fine was imposed on somebody who made $60,000 a year. That would be like a fine of $2.20 if you factored in what their profits were. I mean, it's just, that doesn't make any sense. So when you look at the evidence here, it's crystal clear that there are deep ties between Governor McCrory, his administration, and Duke Energy, there are potentially some serious conflicts of interest. And while you have the first grand jury hearing of what amounts to a criminal investigation, you know, we think it's really time that Governor McCrory come clean on his personal ties. The big question that is teed up at this point is if there's going to be a massive cleanup of all these 36 toxic coal ash lagoons. One big question is, who's going to pay for that cleanup? Should it be the taxpayers?
No.
Should it be the customers, the ratepayers? Or should it be the shareholders in Duke Energy? Well, you know, as you ask folks at Diener, or you may ask Governor McCrory, who should pay, remember that Governor McCrory is a shareholder, and he won't say how many shares he owns. He's just filed this form, but it doesn't really say how much in Duke Energy stock he really owns. He won't disclose. People want accountability and transparency in their state government, and Governor McCrory should come forward.